My wife and father-in-law thought they bought my soul along with my COO title. They forgot one thing. I built their unstoppable machine, and I know exactly where the brakes are. When they forced me to choose between the corporation and my father's funeral, they signed their own death warrant. Chicago, Cortez Holdings HQ. I, 34-year-old Tony Ramirez, sat under the cold glow of neon lights, clutching my phone. My father, Carlos, a poor mechanic from Ohio, had just lost his battle with cancer. I didn't make it in time to say goodbye. Calling my father-in-law, Chairman Manuel Cortez, was my last hope for a shred of humanity. My father passed away. I need 4 days, I pleaded. The response was ice-cold silence. Tony, the company is in a sensitive period. The family is away on vacation. No one can replace you. Personal matters must wait, even funerals. The real knife in the back came from my wife, Isabella. When I called her at the resort, she sounded only annoyed. Tony, don't embarrass me in front of the family. My father's decision is final. Stay in Chicago and do your job. When HR threatened to fire me an hour later for unauthorized leave, I realized I wasn't a son-in-law. I was a slave in a designer suit. With trembling hands, I typed my resignation. 6 years of my life went into the shredder. I turned off the office lights and walked out into the night. Dawn in Ohio brought the sting of autumn air and my brother Diego's bloodshot eyes. We sobbed on the church steps, and for the first time in years, I felt at home. The funeral was humble, just like my father's life. Old friends from the shop, neighbors, and quiet prayers. Watching the dirt cover the casket, I suffocated under the weight of guilt. I had spent 6 years building someone else's empire, postponing visits to my father for one more project. That one more cost me my final goodbye. While we cleaned the old house, my phone exploded with threats. Manuel called me a coward. Isabella screamed about a divorce. You'll lose everything, the apartment, the money, the status. I choose my father, I replied, and shut the phone off forever. 2 weeks later, a lawyer summoned us. We expected nothing. What could a humble mechanic leave behind? But the lawyer's words made the world stand still. Your father, Carlos Ramirez, secretly invested his earnings for decades. His estate is valued at $1 million. We sat in stunned silence. The man who wore greasy overalls and fixed cars for free had built a fortune for us. He lived frugally, so I could go to college, and now he had given me the means to be free. This million wasn't just cash, it was a father's love made tangible. That evening, over a simple bowl of stew in my father's kitchen, I finally broke the silence. Under the flickering yellow bulb, I told Diego everything. The betrayal, the threats, and the coldness of the Cortez family. They think I'm broken, I said, looking at the copy of the will. They think I'll come crawling back on my knees once the money runs out. I looked at my brother, and for the first time, there was steel in my eyes. But now I have the resources, and I know every dirty secret hidden in the books of Cortez Holdings. They wanted a war? They've got one. Manuel Cortez always said business is war. He made a fatal mistake. He taught me all his moves and showed me where all his bodies were buried. He thought I was his loyal dog, but he forgot that even the most faithful dog bites when you strip away his right to be a son. When I returned to Chicago, I didn't go home. I checked into a modest hotel under a fake name. On my laptop, I held something Manuel never suspected, a set of shadow books. During my years as COO, I had documented everything, not for blackmail, but to protect the company. Now those files were my heavy artillery. I activated a remote server access they had forgotten to revoke in the haste of my departure. Hidden in folders marked confidential were proofs of multi-million-dollar tax evasion and bribes paid to city officials. Now you'll learn the true price of my loyalty, I whispered, copying the data onto an encrypted drive. Using a portion of my father's inheritance, I hired the best private investigators and financial analysts. We began shorting Cortez Holdings stock. But that wasn't enough. I wanted them to feel the same coldness and isolation I felt that night in the office. I anonymously leaked details of a massive upcoming merger to their biggest competitors. The deal of the century, which Manuel had staked the family fortune on, began to crumble. In a single day, the company's market cap plummeted by 15%. My phone began to explode again, but this time, Isabella's messages weren't filled with rage, only panic. I arranged a meeting with Isabella and Manuel at their favorite elite restaurant. They arrived confident, believing I had come to beg for forgiveness. Manuel looked aged. Isabella was frantic. "Tony, enough of these games," Manuel hissed. "Come back, fix the stock situation, and we might forget your betrayal." "Betrayal?" I smiled bitterly and placed a blue flash drive on the table. "Everything is here. Your Panama accounts, the City Hall kickbacks, and the shell contracts. The district attorney gets this tomorrow morning." Manuel's face turned the color of ash. Isabella tried to grab my hand. "Tony, we're family. Think about our future." "We have no future, Bella. You killed it the moment you forbade me from burying my father." A week later, the headlines exploded. "Corruption scandal at Cortez Holdings, Manuel Cortez under arrest." Isabella was indicted for conspiracy and money laundering. Their accounts were frozen and their luxury penthouse was put up for auction. I stood by my father's grave in Ohio when the text from my lawyer arrived. "The case has gone to court. They're facing up to 15 years. I closed my eyes and for the first time in years breathed freely. "We won, Dad," I whispered. Diego stood beside me. We had the money, our freedom, and a clean name. We opened a small chain of auto repair shops branded Ramirez and Sons. I was finally the master of my own life, and in my schedule, there was always time for family.